It's been an extremely busy week at CES 2026, and hopefully you've had a chance to check out some of our coverage videos from the event already and keep an eye on the news and reviews that we've published on the build-up and then during the event itself. There's lots to try and take in, so today we're going to go through a full roundup of all of the monitor news, announcements and updates in one place. There's timestamps below if you want to skip to any particular section, but there's loads of interesting news here, so we definitely recommend watching all the way through if you can. Specs and details for many of these are still to be finalised, but this is what we know so far about all of the new monitors from the event. Here goes. Let's start with my personal two highlights from this year, and that's the launch of two exciting and unique new OLED monitors. First up is the long-awaited 39-inch ultra-wide OLED monitor from LG Electronics, featuring a 5K 2K resolution and a 165Hz refresh rate. It uses a new 4th gen Tandem WOLED panel, and it's the first time that we've seen this high resolution and pixel density on an ultra-wide OLED monitor of this size, giving us an improved pixel density of 142 ppi compared with only 96 ppi used on earlier 39-inch OLEDs. And that will now offer you sharper text and a better image clarity. Best of all, we think, is that LG have listened to customer and reviewer feedback and improved the curvature of this new panel, changing from their previous steep 800R curvature to a more subtle and comfortable 1500R. It's got some interesting looking 5K upscaling technologies as well, which we explored in more detail in our LG CES video link below. And this is a really exciting new screen with a great spec, and we definitely look forward to reviewing that later in Q1 hopefully, ahead of its currently expected launch around late April, early May at the moment. Only LG Electronics have announced a new monitor using this new panel so far, and it's an exclusive for them at the moment, although hopefully we'll see some others like Asus offer an option at some point, perhaps even with a glossy screen coating, as LG's model only has a matte anti-glare coating option at the moment. The second highlight for us this year was seeing the new 27-inch 4K resolution Tandem WOLED panel from Asus. This is the first time that LG Display have produced a 4K resolution panel of this size, and it's the first time that they've switched to a true RGB stripe pixel layout, removing the white subpixel that's been used on previous WOLED panels to help improve text clarity, image sharpness and colour volume for HDR. This screen has a 240Hz refresh rate at 4K and support for a dual mode function at 480Hz when you drop down to 1080p in certain gaming situations. It's also going to feature a true black glossy screen coating for the final production version, and it's got an attractive new design and all of the modern features and connections that you'd expect from an Asus ROG Swift lineup monitor. We were told the panel is still being finalised and optimised, and so brightness specs are to be confirmed, but it will be a lower peak brightness than other Tandem WOLED panels now that they've removed the white subpixel, but at the same time this will help improve colour volume and colour brightness in HDR. It's due to be released hopefully in Q2 we were told, and we can't wait to test this one out fully nearer the time. No other brands have announced models using this new panel yet either, but we would expect LG Electronics to offer one at some point given their association with the panel manufacturer LG Display. Let's talk about other OLED monitors as well, and let's start with the selection of new 5th gen QD-OLED ultrawide models from various brands, which were really exciting to see. We've seen models unveiled by Asus, MSI, Gigabyte, HP and Acer this year already, and we've already had a chance to review the Asus and MSI models in full, so do check those out, linked in the description below for loads more testing and information. These new screens are all 34 inches in size with a 21:9 aspect ratio, a 3440x1440 resolution and a 360Hz refresh rate. The new QD-OLED panel also shifts to an RGB stripe subpixel layout, which significantly improves text clarity and sharpness compared with earlier 34-inch QD-OLED panels. The panel also includes a new film and panel optimization, going by many brand names but being the same on each monitor. This new film helps improve black depth in brighter rooms, remove the purple tint that you see on earlier QD-OLED panels, and also improves the panel hardness and scratch resistance. These new screens should start to appear during Q1, and you can check out our Asus and MSI reviews for all of the testing and information that you might need. There's loads of brands already using this panel, so that gives you a good choice between features, brand preference and pricing to consider. A related note, and not actually on show at CES, but announced amongst their other new monitors, ASUS also unveiled a 34-inch ultrawide QD-OLED model in their ROG Strix lineup. This also uses a 5th gen panel with an RGB stripe layout and their Black Shield film coating, but it has a lower 280Hz refresh rate, a different design and stand, and a slightly lower spec with DP 1.4 instead of DP 2.1, and a lower power delivery from its USB-C port, for instance. That one should be available at a lower price point though when it's released. Also in this new 34-inch category was a prototype of MSI's new Meg X monitor, marking the return of their flagship MEG series and offering a wide range of AI gaming features to enhance your gaming experience, as well as an AI robot feature for voice recognition. This one is still being refined and will be showcased again at Computex in May prior to its release, but it will be interesting to see how those AI features pan out and if they're of value to gamers. Conspicuous by its absence at the event was LG's new 32-inch OLED monitor that they announced as part of their CES news, the first and only model announced so far by any manufacturer to use a new Tandem WOLED panel in this size. That will offer the same 4K resolution and 240Hz refresh rate and dual mode 480Hz function as their earlier panels, but this time with an enhanced brightness, improved black depth and other benefits related to the 4th gen primary RGB tandem WOLED panel technology. This wasn't on show at the event sadly, but we're told it's expected to be released around April-May time. Their new AI upscaling technology will also feature, which we found produced good results and looked promising on some of their other models at the event, so it will be interesting to see how that performs once they're released, but that could prove potentially valuable to some gamers. No other brands have announced a 32-inch 4K OLED model using this new Tandem WOLED panel yet, but we'd expect to see ASUS and perhaps also Gigabyte release a model at some point as well, given their use of Tandem WOLED panels in the past. There were also some other 32-inch OLED monitors on show, this time using a newly updated 4th gen QD-OLED panel offering some brightness improvements over the older panel, along with the new film for improving black depth and scratch resistance that was used on the 34-inch models that we discussed a minute ago. Note that these new 32-inch panels remain the previous triangular subpixel layout. They've not been updated to an RGB stripe like the 34-inch model, but with the higher pixel density that's on offer here, this isn't a big issue at all. ASUS had their 3rd generation of their popular PG32 UCDM on show, which also includes updates like DP 2.1 connectivity and their Neo proximity sensor. Those have now been added, and in a side-by-side comparison, this shows nicely how the Black Shield film helps with the black depth on that new panel. Gigabyte are also releasing a new model of their own with the same specs, and this includes their new Hyper-Nits HDR modes as well, which are designed to boost brightness by up to 30% apparently. That Hyper-Nits technology will be included on all of their new models, and we're told that it will also be rolled out to some existing models where possible via a firmware update at some point. We look forward to testing that in a future review to see how it performs and see what difference it might make to the HDR experience. Their 32-inch screen looks like it will have the most aggressive price point as well from the known pricing that we have so far. As part of their CES press release, MSI announced 2 models of their own using this new 32-inch panel, although these weren't actually on show at the event itself. The MPG model includes higher-end features like their AI care sensor and DP 2.1 connectivity, while their MAG model has only DP 1.4, no care sensor, but it will come in at a lower price point when they're released. Samsung also made use of this panel with their latest Odyssey 32-inch OLED screen with DP 2.1 connectivity and their usual matte screen coating. Now that the panel manufacturer Samsung Display are also offering this coating from the factory for the panel, we're not sure if Samsung Electronics will just take the panel like that or continue to apply their own coating as they have for the last couple of years. It's likely very similar anyway, so it won't make much difference. Sticking with OLED for a bit longer, there were a few new 500Hz or higher refresh rate OLED monitors showcased at the event for top tier gaming. HP are expanding their HyperX Omen brand with a new 27-inch 500Hz QD-OLED model that's due to be released later in the spring. We should mention at this point that HP's focus is also on providing new monitors which have a massive range of functions and settings for both gamers and professional users, including a new menu design split into 2 distinct sections, loads of color modes that are factory calibrated and signified by their new HyperX Pro Luma branding. Those same features and the same approach apply to their 34-inch ultrawide QD-OLED monitor that we discussed earlier on as well. ASRock were also showcasing their new models in their new Tai Chi monitor lineup, with one model offering a 27-inch QD-OLED panel, 1440p resolution and 500Hz refresh rate. ASRock tell us that they will be releasing various new Tai Chi series monitors this year, so we will hope to bring you more information on those soon. Elsewhere in the WOLED technology space, LG Electronics were showcasing their new 540Hz Tandem WOLED monitor with a 720Hz dual mode at 720p. It's an alternative to ASUS's model that we've already reviewed in the past, but their model will have a matte anti-glare coating instead of glossy, and it's actually available to pre-order now in some regions already. In other OLED news, Gigabyte unveiled their new glossy version of their very popular MO27Q28G monitor. It's using the same 27-inch 1440p 280Hz tandem WOLED panel as their previous version, but now offers what they're calling their real black glossy finish. That will give you a choice between matte and glossy versions of their very competitively priced and highly spec'd 27-inch monitor when it's released soon. While it wasn't on show at CES, Gigabyte also announced a new 27-inch 1440p 280Hz QD-OLED monitor in their range with a sleek white design and their new HyperNits HDR technology that we talked about earlier, offering a mid-refresh rate QD-OLED option with a rare white chassis if you've got a white system and setup. ASRock had another model from their Tai Chi series on show. This time it was a 27-inch QD-OLED monitor with a 4K resolution and 240Hz refresh rate. It's also got a sleek white design as well, and as we said earlier, expect to see more from their Tai Chi series monitors later this year. We should say at this point, by the way, for those who might ask, that Dell Alienware didn't have any new monitors on show at CES this year, but we'd hope to see some new models appear later this year perhaps. They had a couple of ultra-sharp monitors on show, which we'll talk about in a moment. We did see a few new OLED monitors aimed at professional and office users as well, further expanding this technology away from just the gaming segment. MSI introduced their new Pro Max series of devices, peripherals and systems, and amongst that was their first QD-OLED monitor. With a white design aesthetic, it offers a 4K resolution and 166 ppi pixel density for an impressive image, along with a modest 120Hz refresh rate, which makes it a lot lower of course than their gaming series screens. This screen actually uses an updated Samsung Display QD-OLED panel, taking their 4th gen panel from 2025 and adding not only the optimization film for improving blacks, which MSI called Dark Armor Film, but also adding a new matte anti-glare coating as well to reduce glare and reflections for typical daytime office usage. Dell also unveiled their new ultra-sharp QD-OLED monitor aimed at professional users and colour critical work. This one's got a 32-inch size panel with a 4K resolution and 120Hz refresh rate, and again it offers a matte anti-glare coating to reduce glare and reflections for content creation, editing and colour critical work in brighter environments. This one even comes with a bundled shading hood in the box. One impressive feature is an integrated pop-out colorimeter, which can auto-calibrate your screen in loads of modes at a schedule that you set. That's been designed and optimized in conjunction with portrait displays, and you can even do things like profile that built-in colorimeter with a higher-end Spectro device if you have one. Their model includes Dolby Vision HDR support, a Thunderbolt 4 hub with 140 watts power delivery, along with loads of other connections and features that you'd expect from a premium Pro range monitor. This will also be the first time that Dell have offered a 3-year burn-in warranty on their OLED monitors with this new model. ASUS showcased a couple of new QD-OLED monitors in their ProArt series as well, including this 27-inch model with a 4K resolution and 120Hz refresh rate. They too have added a matte anti-glare coating, and their model is Calman verified for colour accuracy as well. A larger 32-inch ProArt model was also on show with a 4K resolution and 240Hz refresh rate, offering high-end features like hardware calibration support, a bundled colorimeter device and a shading hood, as well as Thunderbolt 4 hub with 96 watts power delivery. There were also a couple of LCD Pro monitors which we should cover while we're talking about professional focus monitors, and we'll transition here away from OLED monitors and into all of the LCD options from the event. Acer's new Pro Designer model is 31.5 inches in size with an IPS LCD panel and offers a high 6K resolution and 224 ppi pixel density for a super sharp and clear Retina class image. It's got modern features like USB-C with 100-watt power delivery and their new AI proxy sense motion sensor as well. HP also announced their new Series 7 Pro monitor with a 31.5-inch screen size, 4K resolution and 120Hz refresh rate, offering features like Thunderbolt 4 with 140 watts power delivery and a smart KVM switch function. One unique screen that we saw at the event was HKC's M10 Ultra display that was announced in December but on show for the first time at CES. This looks to be a really interesting screen with the world's first RGB-Mini LED backlight, which promises some very impressive specs if it can deliver in real terms. Unlike traditional Mini LEDs, RGB-Mini LEDs do not use a single white or blue LED as a backlight. Instead, they directly integrate Mini LED chips of the three primary colours, red, blue and green, into the backlight module. This means that when the screen used to display red, for instance, the backlight system only needs to light up the red light chip without having to obtain red through white light passing through a colour filter. This can in theory help avoid the light loss and colour crosstalk problems caused by filtering in traditional solutions. It can also help with colour gamut and range, HKC say. The screen uses a total of 4,788 independent light controlled zones and independent control algorithms for the three RGB colours. This would mean the equivalent of a 1,596 zone traditional Mini LED backlight, just split into those three colour chips for each zone. This should offer very good local dimming capabilities which will help reduce halos and blooming in content. HKC promote other specs like a supposed 100% coverage of the BT 2020 colour space, or the Rec 2020 colour space as it's sometimes known, although we're sceptical about this being an absolute area coverage since we don't believe that that's possible from any display outside of using lasers to produce the full colour gamut. We'll see how it performs anyway when it's officially released, and hopefully we can get hold of a sample for review. It could be a really interesting development in the Mini LED space if it performs well, and another solid option and an alternative to OLED panels perhaps. Now that we've moved away from OLED monitors, we should talk about NVIDIA G-Sync Pulsar, which has now been finally released and the first screens are starting to become available right now. We saw models at CES from both ASUS and MSI featuring this technology, and we had a long demo and discussion with NVIDIA about it at their booth as well. AOC and Acer have also announced their models with G-Sync Pulsar, and all four will be releasing very soon. These are all 27-inch sized IPS LCD screens with a 1440p resolution, 360Hz refresh rate, and with response times and performance optimized by NVIDIA as part of their new Pulsar technology. G-Sync Pulsar allows you to use a blur reduction strobing backlight at the same time as VRR for the first time, offering potentially amazing levels of motion clarity and performance. We're hoping to test one of the G-Sync Pulsar screens later in Q1, and the technology looks really promising for gamers, with NVIDIA saying that this should deliver over 1000 Hz of equivalent motion clarity. We know a lot of people have been eagerly awaiting the release of these screens, so it's great to see them finally available after all this time. NVIDIA told us that while there is no firm information or timelines at the moment, Pulsar will continue to be developed, and they are looking into how this might be brought into the Mini LED screens in the future as well. NVIDIA also confirmed that the Acer 5K Pulsar monitor that we saw at Computex last May is also still in the works, but there's no firm release schedule for it yet. It had taken them a lot longer than expected to get Pulsar working optimally on the first wave of 27-inch models, including all of the G-Sync software on the new MediaTek scaler that's been used. But now that they've got that working, hopefully it won't be too long before they get it working on the 5K models as well. Speaking of 5K, another interesting new LCD development at CES this year was the launch of various new 5K resolution monitors, many of them with dual mode refresh rates and some even with high-end Mini LED backlights. The one which most caught our eye was from MSI, offering a 5K resolution and 165Hz native refresh rate on a 27-inch size panel for amazing picture quality and detail with a 218 ppi pixel density, which would be classified as Retina resolution by Apple. MSI's model has a dual mode function for 1440p at 330Hz, so that's still a decent resolution for a screen of this size if you want to play faster games, less drastic than the 4K dual mode monitors where you have to drop to a much lower 1080p resolution in dual mode. MSI's model also had a glossy screen coating, which we know a lot of people will be excited about, as well as a 2304 zone mini LED backlight for top tier HDR capabilities, including HDR 1400 certification. We saw two other 27-inch 5K monitors with a mini LED backlight at the event. This one was from LG with a 5K resolution and 165Hz refresh rate again, and that dual mode function for 330Hz at 1440p. Their model offers the same high-end mini LED backlight as featured on the MSI model, but their screen has a matte anti-glare coating instead, giving you a choice depending on your preferences and usage environment. LG's model will include their new 5K upscaling features, which we looked at in more detail in our LG coverage video, along with DP 2.1 connectivity as well. The third 5K mini LED monitor that we saw at the event was from HKC, who are looking to expand globally with their HKC and Ant Gamer brands now. Their model offers the same high pixel density and a 180Hz refresh rate, although according to the spec card at the event, their model doesn't seem to offer a dual mode function. It did have a glossy screen coating again, and the 2304 zone mini LED backlight for high-end HDR performance. HKC also promoted its AI features of some sort and DP 2.1 connectivity. Asus showcased their own new 5K 27-inch monitor with a slightly overclocked 180Hz refresh rate at native mode and 330Hz in dual mode. Their model does not offer a mini LED backlight unfortunately, so it's a standard IPS LCD, although it had display HDR 600 for some mid-tier HDR support and will likely end up at a lower price point as a result. Acer's model was also announced for CES with basically the same spec again, although this had a 5K resolution at 165Hz with the dual mode supporting 330Hz again at 1440p. Their model has a glossy coating as well, so again you've got a choice in this space between matte and glossy models. Samsung's 27-inch 5K model was also on show, and that seems to push the refresh rate slightly further in both modes based on the limited spec that they provided, with 180Hz native at 5K and 360Hz in dual mode at 1440p. Their model has a matte anti-glare screen coating and a standard backlight, not mini LED. Finally, MSI also had another model on show in their lower tier MAG series, although this has a much lower 75Hz native refresh rate unfortunately, but it does have what they're calling a quad boost dual mode for 300Hz at 1440p. But it doesn't look as exciting as their MPG model with the mini LED backlight that we discussed a moment ago. Taking resolution one step further was Samsung's new 32-inch 6K resolution monitor with a 220 ppi pixel density on a 32-inch size screen, offering amazing image detail and clarity. On this larger screen size of 32-inch, this higher 6K resolution is needed to retain the Retina resolution pixel density classification from Apple. There's a native 165Hz native refresh rate, which is of course going to be a massive challenge to power at 6K, but it's also got a dual mode function for a 3K resolution at 330Hz for some gaming situations. That looks an interesting option if you want a larger screen size with the same kind of super high pixel density as the 27-inch 5K models. One unique and unusual screen at the event, which also offered a 32-inch screen and a 6K resolution, was Samsung's new Odyssey 32-inch 3D monitor with a glasses-free 3D experience which looked impressive in person and worked very well. That supports various games that will offer native 3D support, as well as upscaling some other 2D content in some cases. This screen has the same 6K resolution and 165Hz native mode, and a dual mode 3K 330Hz, like the non-3D model that we just talked about. This looks an interesting new screen, particularly if you're interested in 3D content and 3D gaming, although there's not much official information on it at this time. We've also seen a couple of large format monitors announced at CES this year. Our favourite was the new Dell Ultra Sharp screen with a massive 52-inch size screen and a subtle curvature, offering a 6K ultra-wide resolution for a huge screen area and desktop space. This could be a great alternative to multi-monitor setups, and with a large screen size, The 6K ultra-wide resolution gives you a huge desktop space to work with at a standard 100% scaling. It's using an IPS black panel, has a 120Hz refresh rate, and has loads of modern convenience and productivity features like a Thunderbolt 4 hub with 140 watts power delivery, KVM switch, ambient light sensor, built-in speakers, and loads of picture-in-picture and picture-by-picture modes for handling multiple inputs or splitting your single input, in fact, into different segments on the screen. This is a unique panel and spec and could be amazing for office and professional uses. The other large format monitor that we saw at CES was LG's new 52-inch curved VA LCD monitor. Their model has a steeper 1000R curvature and a 5K 2K resolution, but a higher 240Hz refresh rate, which makes it more aimed at gamers than Dell's model. It's an interesting alternative perhaps to a 42-inch size screen for some people where they might be looking for an ultra-wide format instead and a more immersive curve. We also saw a lot of super fast LCD gaming screens being unveiled at CES, all pushing past the 1000Hz refresh rate mark. Acer's new Predator series gaming screen was on show at the event with a 27-inch IPS panel, 1440p resolution and 500Hz native refresh rate, which can be doubled then to 1000Hz in a dual mode function, but at a much lower 720p resolution. Not to be outdone, Samsung had a 27-inch 1440p IPS monitor with a native 600Hz refresh rate, which is already very high of course, but that can be pushed to 1040Hz using the dual mode function, although again only at a much lower 720 resolution. That's slightly higher though as a refresh rate than Acer's model. HKC also showcased their Ant Gamer series monitor at the event with a 1440p resolution and a 540Hz refresh rate native, but their model looks to really be the world's fastest so far, pipping the Samsung and Acer models in its dual mode with 1080Hz refresh rate. None of these 1000Hz plus screens were really set up to properly demo 1000Hz content or tests, so it's not possible to really get a good feel for motion clarity and response time performance at the moment. We're skeptical that the IPS panel response times will be able to keep up with anywhere near those kind of refresh rates, and with a significantly low resolution for that mode of only 720p, that will leave them with a very niche use case either way. It feels like we're just chasing numbers with these really at the moment, but it will be interesting to test these at some point to see how they really perform. But we'd probably be more excited and hopeful about performance if these had been OLED screens. There you go, that's all of the monitor news from CES this year in one place. We've got loads more information in our separate videos if you've not seen those already, from ASUS, MSI and LG's booths. They're linked in the description below, so do check those out. Let us know in the comments section below which models you're most excited for this year and which one you might buy when it's available. We also visited Nvidia to talk to them about all things G-Sync Pulsar, so we'll look to provide some more detail on that in the near future, probably as part of a review of one of their new Pulsar screens. We also saw both LG Display and Samsung Display to hear all about their latest 2026 OLED developments, updates and panels, and we're planning to do separate videos covering those updates in the near future too. So do hit subscribe to stay up to date on all of that stuff coming soon. Thank you for watching, we'll catch you next time.